Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm reacting to Do You Really Know Yourself? Dandapani. Okay. Do you really know yourself? That's really kind of a strange question, considering that you're talking about yourself. I've in a sense thought about this a little bit. Like, who knows you more, your best friend, other people, or yourself? I think most of the problem is the sheer fact that we don't pay attention to ourselves. We pay attention to external things that affect us and what we like and do not like, but only to that limited degree. We only pay attention if we don't like it and like it. Other than that, we don't generally pay attention to other things that doesn't apply to that, I do believe. So do you really know yourself? You do, if only you pay attention. Now, do other people know things about you that you don't know about yourself? Yes, that's very much true, because there's this internal knowing and external knowing, I do believe. And all these I'm thinking up just now, by the way. And kind of things that I've thought about before too. So the external knowings, they're like, again, quirks, like I've said before. Like I don't think this is a quirk for Sadhguru. I believe people said that he does this for meditative purposes, which he sits on one foot, basically. In a sense, he kind of sits on one leg. Lakhani keeps putting up and down his glasses all the time. I worry. It's funny, but I love it. And it's something that if he stops doing, I'm gonna be like, man, something's wrong. It's a little quirk that he does. And it's probably something he doesn't really, pay attention to. It's just something that happens naturally, and he doesn't realize it. I just honestly worry that he's gonna poke his eye out one day. And then he's gonna stop doing that. And who else? Like Osho with the sound he does usually at the end, whether that word had an S in it at all or not, it's gonna have an S in it. So little quirks are things that you do that you don't know about, that generally other people on the outside externally will be able to see. Things internally, things you like, dislike, are things that can be picked up by the outside if you show it, or that only you would know. So there are going to be things that you know about yourself, and there are going to be things that external people, if you don't pay attention, the things that are external are generally the things that are what you don't pay attention to, that you don't know about for some things. But there are also some internal things that no one will know about, but only you would know about if you paid attention. I'm wondering, I've never thought about it in degrees of dangerous. Is that dangerous to something that only you could know but you don't pay attention to? And it is probably, generally speaking, like health issues and stuff. Anyways, I was getting started. I talked too much already.
How are people dealing with priorities today?
Not very well. It's really interesting. I'll share a little story. I was walking here for the interview, so walking to the subway, and I was at a traffic light, and this lady turned and looked at me, and I was like, yeah, whatever. And then we crossed, and then she was walking a little bit behind me, and then she came up next to me, and she goes, "Are you the guy with the YouTube videos?" And I go like, "Which ones?" And she's not the motivational ones. I'm like, "Oh yeah, that one." Okay. Didn't know what YouTube video she was talking about. Anyway, she started talking, and we caught the same train. And one of the things she said is that, I don't know what I want in life.
Yeah.
I have no idea what I want in life. So if you have no idea what you want in life, how then can you prioritize your life?
It's weird. The title is not about what you want in life, but maybe, I guess so. That is part of the things about yourself. But that's kind of weird, though. It kind of not necessarily contradicts, but it doesn't go along the lines of, I can't remember who said it, but it's again something that I accept too about the future. The future is not here; it's fictional. But what you want, your goals and priorities, Swami, are things that you set ahead of yourself as a goal to achieve. And these goals are temporary happiness, because once you achieve the goal, you feel proud of yourself, you're happy. But then when that goal is over with, that happiness kind of fades. It's a temporary boost of happiness. And again, I have nothing wrong with people doing that. It's something good to achieve, absolutely. But I guess the thing that you have to realize is that long-term happiness cannot be these things that it's like a one-time deal kind of thing. It has to be something that's sustainable, that requires little effort to make you happy. I think those are the long-term happiness. Like sitting outside and enjoying the sunset. Just going out there and just enjoying it. No effort. Well, unless you have to get up early, which in my case would be a lot of effort. So enjoying the sunset may not be the happiness for me. Sunset actually, yes. Sunset, okay. Sunrise is what I'm talking about. Sunrise, too early. Sunset, that actually looks really nice. And you know, when I'm working, I'm going down. I live close to a water area, and looking at the sunset, it looks so nice. I was like, man, I wish I could go there and look at it. Days that I'm not working, I don't go there and look at it. Days that I'm working and I can't do it, I'm like, now I wish I could go and do that. But you know, little things that make you happy, that's very sustainable, that requires little effort, it should be the things that make you really happy for the long term. Things that require a lot of effort will make you happy, like a great deal of happiness, but once they're achieved, it is something that you cannot get again, generally speaking.
You can't prioritize. And if you ask most people, what do you want in life? They're like, oh, to be happy. Happiness is not a focus. You know, happiness is not a priority in life. Happiness comes as a byproduct of living a certain way.
Yes.
But first you have to be super clear of how you want to live your life. What is your life about? What's your purpose in life? And most people don't know. And because they don't know their purpose, then they don't know their priorities. The purpose defines your priorities.
And that's another thing I think the Sadhguru is talking about, is people, what is the purpose of life? And he was talking about how people saying, oh, to work, or to have children, to have family, or why not just the purpose of living? Now again, that doesn't contradict like doing work or having children or family, but no one sees just living as a good enough purpose in life. They always have to achieve something as a purpose of life. And that makes enjoying life kind of difficult, because if you don't have a purpose and you cannot just enjoy life, you're going to be, in a sense, suffering for, I need to do something, otherwise I feel like I'm wasting my life. And you cannot enjoy life if you're having that contradiction.
And once you have your clear of your purpose defines your priorities. Once you know your priorities, then you can focus on them. But if you don't know your purpose, then you don't know your priorities. So to answer your questions, how are people dealing with priorities? Not very well, because most people have no idea what their priorities in life are. And then one thing she said to me on the train is that, well, she's talking about relationships, and she says, I know what I don't want in a man. I thought to myself, no, you don't. The only time you know when you don't want something is when you know what you want, right? When you know what you want, that's when you know what you don't want. If you don't know what you want, how can you know what you don't want? Does that make sense?
That makes total sense.
So
it doesn't, but it does. Because you can say like, oh, you don't, like if you've met someone and they're a complete slob, it's like, yeah, I don't want that. But I guess then that means that you would know that you want a person who is not a slob. So you know you want a non-slob, therefore you do not want a slob.
when she said, I know what I don't want in a man, I'm like, that's not clear. Because if I asked her, what do you want in a man? She has no idea.
It's also, in a way, a very negative approach, right? Like seeing like what you don't want instead of seeing the good, like what do I want?
Yeah.
Because sometimes there's also parts that maybe you don't want, but you can accept because you get the things that you do want.
Exactly, right. Yeah.
That's what you call compromise, lady, and not a lot of people are willing to do that. They're saying, and sorry if I breathe too much, but a lot of people now don't compromise. They have to get what they want, and they end up being lonely or being alone. There's no compromise in a relationship, and therefore there's no work put in. And and that's what it seems like in a way. And I think it's true to a degree. I don't know how large of a degree, but people don't put in the work, and if they don't put in the work, they just break up because it's so easy to find another date for the most part. And because you can just go to the next person, next person, next person, and just keep on going to the next person, that, I mean, you'll eventually you'll run out of time. You'll be probably bitter and angry because you've went through so many people that you invested so much time and some effort into something, that the second that there's one or two things that you don't like, that you just stop the effort, and then you start all over again, you start all over again, you start all over again, and then you're just like, I'm tired. You get tired, you know. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over. It's like doing something that you enjoy that takes a little bit of time, and when you get to a certain progress, start all over. Get to a certain progress, start all over. Get to a certain progress, start all over. It's like you never get to finish. You always have to start at the very beginning every single time, over and over and over and over again. It gets tiring.
You know, so, but yeah, most people never take any time to figure out what they want in life, so they don't know what their priorities are.
How do you, we're talking about purpose now, finding purpose in life, and how do you practice finding, because your purpose is not something that is just there. A lot of people give workshops on promise, like 45 minutes, and there is your purpose.
Exactly. They make tons of money.
Yeah, probably. How do you practice finding your purpose? How do you...
I always tell people the simple way to start is to spend time with yourself. So, you know, I've spent time with you and your husband, you know, whenever I come to Hamburg. And the more time I spend with the both of you, the more I get to know you. But we haven't spent a lot of time. It's whenever I'm in Hamburg, you know, we've met on different occasions and stuff like that. But if I wanted to get to know you and Christoph really well, I have to spend time with both of you. So just say if I lived in Hamburg and every week we went out to dinner or lunch and I spent 2 hours with you and Christoph, then after a year, the three of us would get to know each other very well. Because every week you're spending 2 hours with me. You know what I like, what I don't like, when I'm cranky, when I'm upset, what makes me happy. Most people never spend any time with themselves. So how would they know what they want?
Oh, that was weird. I guess we'll play.
In life, right? So the only way I can get to know someone is by spending time with them, right? So if you ask someone, how much time do you spend with yourself? Most people say, they don't spend any time. They say, oh, when I walk the dog, that's when I spend time. That's my alone time. I say, no, that's you walking the dog.
That's the bathroom time too, by the way. If you're not, you know, looking at your cell phone at the time or reading the backs of shampoo labels or soap labels. But yeah, I mean, that's very much true. And like I said a little bit earlier, we only pay attention to the things that affect us directly, generally speaking, at the time. You know, we don't really pay attention to the other things in our lives that are not necessarily affecting us at the moment. And things maybe that are, like, obviously if you have like a pain in your body, then you start focusing on yourself, like, oh, there's a pain here, let me take care of that. But outside of that, you're paying attention to everything external for the most part, and only pay attention to yourself whenever you're being affected directly. But yeah, very much so. I mean, I don't know if it's Western life or just developed life, as in like a developed nation. When, again, I guess so, when once the survival things are taken care of, food, water, and shelter, things just change. Our priorities change, our life change, because now we're not, you know, worrying about the next food. We're worrying about what's the next thing that we need to do, next adventure, next job, next whatever it may be. Well, anyways, that's my reaction to Do You Really Know Yourself? But Dandapani. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.